As James Anderson has been named in the England squad to face New Zealand in the 2020 match at Old Trafford and the one-day series next month. Warwickshire's Tim Ambrose has been named as the wicket-keeper. And fifth seed Serena Williams has crashed out of the French Open tennis. She lost her third-round match to Katrina Srebotnik of Slovenia in straight sets 6-4, 6-4.
BBC Radio Manchester, satellite weather with Diane Oxbury.
Well, one thing's for sure, this day won't be as good as yesterday. It is fairly cloudy now. The morning showers have died away for most of us, and as the day goes on, it will get better, but we are still at risk of a shower here and there as you go through the afternoon. In the brightest spots, and there definitely will be some, top temperature is 19 Celsius.
Lunchtimes belong to Beswick.
Allan Beswick.
BBC Radio Manchester.
I've only been doing this job full-time for a quarter of a century, so I probably haven't got the hang of it yet. But did you hear that sports headline? Is City heading to Preston? I thought the idea of the news, even the sports news, was to tell you stuff. I don't want to be tested. I don't want to turn the radio on and... Oh, my God, I don't know the answer to that. If I wanted that, I'd do quiz shows. I don't know. It's going to the dogs. I'm going with it. It's all right, don't worry. Anyway, how are you? You all right? Well, it just made me wonder. You see, I'm asking you questions now, but are you all right? You couldn't start a bulletin with that, could you? You know, a news bulletin. Good morning. I'm Alvar Liddell. How are you? It'd be warmer than we're used to. Yes. It's beginning to sound attractive. Here is the news with Alvar Liddell reading it. Are you well? Excellent. We shall proceed. Adolf Hitler. Oh, Hitler's in the news today. Yeah, no, well, not him, obviously, on account of being dead. Or not. No, you see, even if he did escape to Argentina and live on a farm, he's probably dead anyway now, isn't he? Knocking on a bit at best of times. Well, that's what they said. They said he escaped. Some of them, you know, the Sunday newspapers for about 30 years had Hitler spotting competitions, didn't they? It did for the pencil moustache, I can tell you. Oh, God, yes. Nobody bothered with them for a while, because everywhere you went, is he Adolf? Is it? You're Adolf Hitler. I claim my £5. Except it was chalky white, wasn't it? Do you remember chalky white? You don't remember? You do. You do. Chalky white. I don't know where we got. How did we get here? But chalky white, you used to get a £5, which was pretty good money in them days. It was the size of a tablecloth and it was white. I don't think that's why they called him chalky white. No. If they're doing it today, they'd call him sort of chalky... sort of brassy, bronzy, coiny, wouldn't they? I haven't a clue what that means. Should we leave it alone? Should we just leave it hanging in the air on the grounds that I don't know my way out of this? I've just started digging and I've found myself at the bottom of this hole, and frankly, I have no idea of the way out. Yeah. Anyway, it was chalky white, and if you were spotted with a Daily Mirror, he came up and he said, You had to recognise him, that was it. And you went up to him and said, you're chalky white. I claim my £5. And he'd say, can I see your Daily Mirror? And you'd say, yeah, I've got it under my arm, here it is. And he'd say, here's your £5. And you said, blimey, that's bigger than my Daily Mirror. I said, well, it's very real. They promised to pay the bearer, so get your kit off. What? Right, I'm stopping now. I'm going to talk to Margaret in Bolton in a minute.
This Sunday, enjoy the Royal Ballet's performance of Romeo and Juliet on the big screen.
Hello, I'm Sarah Lamb.
And I'm Slavos Maduro.
Please come watch us dance the Royal Ballet's magnificent production of Romeo and Juliet.
Screened live from the Royal Opera House to Exchange Square, Manchester.
Romeo and Juliet. See it live and for free on the big screen in Exchange Square this Sunday with the Royal Opera House and BBC Radio Manchester.
And we don't want any fighting and leaving dog ends all over the place when you watch the ballet on the big screen. We don't want any of that weeing in the street like when it's football. Or can we just... there will be flashes at the side of the screen every now and then. If you want to wee, go into Marks and Spencer's or something. Don't wee on the floor. No, because when we have public gatherings now, we have to tell people that you're not allowed to wee on your own feet. Because that's what happens. I can't see. I don't know. Would you sit in Market Street? Would you sit in the square there with a little waterfall riddling behind you and skateboarders just round the corner watching ballet? No, I don't think I would. Mind you, I don't like traditional ballet, all that 2-2 and 1-1 and 3-3. I can't be doing with it. Margaret in Bolton, hiya.
Hello.
Hello. What can we do for you, Margaret?
Well, I'm upset, to be honest.
Well, there's a lot of it about.
Because you're one of my favourite. We're always on your channel. You're the only channel we listen to. We're a small corner bakery shop.
Yeah.
And I got a letter yesterday. Dear Lee's Bakehouse, are you breaking the law? And it seems we are. By playing our little radio in our back room. Because not for the customers, but two of my employees walked past it on the way to the bakery to get the pies to go back in the shop. They're not even listening.
No.
So he's talked about, I rang up and he talked about a licence. I said, OK, fair enough. How much is the licence? £125.
I know.
I would willingly pay £5, £10, whatever, but come on, it's not the biggest part of my life. You know what I mean?
I know. Well, let me tell you, first of all, it's not us that gets the money. We don't get a bean.
No, it's for the music, isn't it?
It is. It's for the music. Yeah. And it's all those performers that have sweat blood over their banjos.
I just feel they're coming to us for an awful lot of money.
They are. I don't
mind paying, don't get me wrong, but I do think the amount is quite, and I do not think people will pay it, to be honest.
Well,
not in a corner shop and you're just listening to your radio.
Yeah, well, a lot won't, and some do.
Yeah.
If you are, it's the Performing Rights Society, but you probably know that from your letter.
Well, I say put it somewhere we've not seen it, but to come demanding money like this, I think it's a little bit, you know.
What the difficulty is that the people who make the music want you to pay them to listen to it.
But I'm not particularly listening. I listen to you.
Well, okay, and I'm the furthest you can get away from music. I appreciate
exactly,
that.
That's what I said.
but unfortunately, there is music in it. Every so often we have a jingle and that other rubbish. And I'm in a way straddling the fence here, because I agree with you.
I don't mind paying a little bit, let's put it that way, but I think this is a little bit extortionate.
Well, it is, but that's the price. And
so we have to work in silence, do you realise that? And after 9 o'clock I've got to turn my radio off.
Yeah, it's balmy, isn't it?
I think it's crazy. Crazy.
I agree. I don't know any way round it, but I also agree that all those musicians should be paid for their work as well.
But I just think it's too much in my face right now.
Yeah. Well,
are you with me? I wish it was hidden away somewhere, and if I hadn't seen it, I would have probably paid it. You know what I'm saying, though?
Well, I'll be sending you a bill straight away, obviously.
Well, if it's in the face, I'm not paying it.
No, well, I'll sneak it round the back. I don't care. If you pay it without looking, I'll have it. But, I don't know what to say to you other than...
I'm a pensioner now, carried on working, because I'm supposed to live on like £80-odd a week, and I can't. You know what I mean? Life just... I don't know, older you get, it gets a bit more frustrating. And I'm not a grumpy old woman, honest, I'm not.
No, I agree. I know you're not. I can hear it in your voice, and I'm scared of you anyway. But I don't know what to say to you other than it's just the way it is.
It's the craziness of it to me. It just seems crazy.
Yeah.
To write to little corner shops and boom, 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 ring them up, turn your radio off or pay £125.
Yeah. That's
crazy. Sorry.
I know, and you're not alone in being cross about it.
I've seen that. There was a guy on television, I think, a chippy, and he got done for like £400 or whatever. And he said, I'm only listening to my own music, but no.
Well, he's not listening to his own.
Well, you know what I mean.
You see, it's not about what he's listening to.
No.
It's about other people listening to it.
That's right. Well, the same about my employees. This is it, because they walk past it.
It's a performance.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. So, there isn't a solution. There is.
I said,
Well,
"Why do you-"
actually, there is a solution, but it's more expensive than the 120 quid, and that is to record music of your own, and by that I mean compose it, employ musicians to record it, and then broadcast it, and that's what they do now in a lot of these large premises.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants the money. It's just the way it's coming at you. You know what I mean?
I know. I've got nothing to offer other than sympathy.
Did you read that? Throwing the caps up in the air, they're not to throw them up anymore. You know, the degree caps.
Oh, yeah, I know.
They're not the mortarboards. They're not to go up in the air. What a world we live in.
I think what they should have done with that, because they are only students,
Yeah.
was actually exchange the caps when they weren't looking for metal ones.
We were doing that this year. We've a daughter qualified at 38,
Have you?
bless her. Yes,
Actually, what's she done?
a teacher. She'll be a teacher.
Oh, fabulous.
Well, she used to work for top PA in Manchester, you know, for all the top solicitors and accountants.
Oh, yes,
And she
yes.
says, "No, I'm not trying to brag, but honest to God, I'm cleverer than some of them." But she was off school really, really ill at one point. Anyway, she couldn't do her A-levels.
Yes,
So she's done an access course.
Oh,
And
fabulous.
3 years at uni, full-time. Her partner supported her. So
Oh,
hopefully now
cracking.
she's...
Isn't that fabulous?
Yeah, because I said in our day you could never go back and do it again. But
You didn't.
today you can,
didn't.
can't
Yeah,
you?
you can if you well, you certainly can if you can get someone to help you with
Yeah,
it financially.
yeah. She just
you,
wants a job now.
Yeah, well,
That's the hard bit.
well, that is the hard bit. And then she'll have 5 years of teaching and be coming home and killing people.
Yeah, well, we have one already doing that. Her older
you?
sister is a teacher.
Blimey, what does she teach?
Primary, just
Yeah.
primary. Well, she loves it, but it's all the red tape, like everything we're talking about.
Well, absolutely so. Every teacher you talk to is
It's so
sick to the back
frustrating.
teeth
Says
of
my
filling
job, Mum,
forms
from
in.
9 till 3, is it? I love. But my
Yeah.
job, she has to do from 7 till 6 and 7, 8 at night, and working till midnight. That part of it I hate.
Yeah.
But she loves
Crazy.
being with the kids, you see.
Yeah, that's it. Well, good on you. Look, I can't offer you anything
I know.
other than to say...
But I just had to say, because I think if everybody's getting one of these, there could be a few radios being turned off, unfortunately,
I
while we're working.
know. You think I care. I can feel them. As they
Yeah.
turn them off, it's like having an electric shock.
I know, I go down and turn mine off now. I've let them have it on while they listen.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, good day to you. What was the
Thanks.
bakery again?
Lee's Bakehouse in Bolton.
All right. Have a good day in
100
Leeds
years,
Bakehouse.
100 years we've been going.
100 years?
And now we have to carry on with no radio.
Well, if you think about it, at a penny a year, it doesn't seem so bad.
Oh, we want to go forward though, not backwards. Thanks, Alan.
Have a good day,
Thank
Margaret.
you.
Ta-ra,
Bye-bye.
love. Well, there you are. There's nothing we can do about the Performing Rights Society, and there's a bit of me that says there's nothing I want to do, because the musicians are entitled to their slice as well. Eric in Nantwich says, the words you had to say were, "Your lobby lud," and I claim my £5. Eric in Hyde says... it was lobby lud. Dot in Stockport says it was lobby lud. There's a groundswell of opinion building here. I still remember it as chalky white, but I also know that I'm often wrong. And David said it was lobby lud that give you the £5. And Adolf H. had a toothbrush moustache. Yeah, what did I say it was? Toothbrush moustache. I can't remember. It was a moustache anyway. He looked like a prat and all that. Tony in Preston, how are you doing?
Oh, all right, thanks, Alan.
Good,
I've just got a couple of points on the subject you were talking about yesterday about armed forces veterans.
Yes.
But just before I start that, can I claim a prize for coming on your programme today, ringing you up?
This is your prize.
Oh, right.
It's not much you want to know, but it's all we got.
I know the BBC get in trouble about things like that, so we better not
We
pursue
don't
it.
anymore. We give sod all away. That'll teach you. Anyway, go on, mate.
Well, look, I've got a leaflet from the Veterans Agency, which
Yeah.
you may have heard of or not before, and it gives you what is a veteran.
Yeah.
This is official from the Executive Agency of the Ministry of Defence Veterans Agency. The term veteran is used to mean all those who have served in the UK Armed Forces, including their widows, widowers, and dependents. If you have served in the UK Armed Forces, regardless of whether it was in war or during peacetime, or if you were a volunteer, a reservist, or a national serviceman, you are now considered to be a veteran. End of quote.
Well, there you are. That's what a veteran is.
Yeah.
But the issue we were discussing yesterday wasn't trying to work out what a veteran was, but I'm grateful for the definition. But should we have a Veterans Day?
Well, can I go just a bit further on my
Go on
second
then, yeah,
point?
go on.
This year, the Veterans Day has been appointed to Blackpool against stiff opposition. Derek Twigg, the Under-Secretary of State for Defence and Veterans Minister, said, "We have had a number of excellent bids to host this year's celebrations, but after careful consideration, Blackpool Council's efforts stood out, and I congratulate them on the excellence of their bid. This year, the Veterans Week will run from the 21st to the 29th of June.
Yes.
At Blackpool.
Absolutely, and that's going to be fabulous, and my dad will be at that for sure.
I know.
But what we were discussing was whether there should be a new bank holiday. The government...
I know, that was a further point you were raising.
Yeah, and then it's, if we are to have another bank holiday, what's it for? As if they could just chuck them out. And somebody said, well, how about having a Veterans Day that's a bank holiday? So that was the essence of the discussion yesterday.
Well, don't you think it's sort of halfway now? Because from last year, we've now got an official date for a Veterans Day on the 27th of June.
Yeah, but it's not a bank holiday.
It's not a bank holiday, yeah, but it's far way towards it, Alan, isn't it?
Well, the 27th of June, I'm not sure that June is a cracking time to have a bank holiday.
Well, we had a parade last year in Preston. It rained the whole time. But there was a good point to it, because the Lady Mayoress inspected us, and then we were invited into the Mayor's parlour for a tot of rum and refreshments.
Which is fabulous. But if they made it a bank holiday, there are 20,000 there, they need an awful lot of rum and a big town hall. Good on you, Tony.
Just another small point, I don't know.
It will have to be very small. Go on.
You want a free phone number on this Veterans Agency?
No, I don't, because we don't give phone numbers out in that way. Just in case there's a glitch and we end up getting some poor old lady out of bed.
Okay.
But good on you, mate. Thank you. Veterans Agency. It's a government... well, it's probably a quango, isn't it?
BBC Radio Manchester.
Headline News.
Mounted police are patrolling a neighbourhood in Wythenshawe where a man was shot 3 times in front of his girlfriend and her child by an armed gang. There are moves to cut the gas and electricity bills of some of the poorest households, and the funeral of Prisons campaigner Pauline Campbell takes place later this afternoon. Manchester's weather starting off cloudy, but it should brighten up during the day. Highs of 19 Celsius. I'm Faye Rusco.
BBC Radio Manchester. 2020 traffic.
Well, traffic on the M6 is much heavier than normal actually now, between 18 Middlewich and 17 Sandbach. Now, we have checked with police in the area and the Highways Agency, but no accidents or incidents have been reported. If you're heading that way and you do spot something, though, do give us a call. I'll give you that number shortly. Taking a quick look now to the M60, and all fairly quiet still, thankfully. No reported problems either on the M66 or the M62 across the Pennines, aside from it being a bit wet, of course, so do take care. A lot of surface spray around across the tops at the moment on the M62. And now to the trains, and again we still have these problems on Virgin Train services. It's a revised service in operation between Stoke-on-Trent and Manchester Piccadilly. So whilst engineering works continue on the tracks, services for the moment will be diverted via Stafford and Wilmslow. Won't be calling at Stoke-on-Trent or Macclesfield though. Instead, a replacement coach service will operate. Now don't forget, if you can update me, do get in touch hands-free on 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
Decongesting Manchester, one car at a time. 2020 traffic.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Hiya. 0161 228 2255. All right, I surrender. It was Lobby Bloody Lud. I'm Lobby Bloody Lud. Give us me fiver. Right, you win. Sure, there was a chalky white as well. Dennis in Saddleworth. Hiya, Dennis.
Hi, Alan, you all right?
I'm not bad.
Good. Just about this performing rights issue.
Yes.
I don't see why they should get it, you know, because at the end of the day, it's a product that they sell, and anybody that makes a product, they sell a product, they make the profit on it, and that's it. They don't get no more.
Okay, let me try a trick on you.
Go on.
If I sold you, I don't know, a book, yeah? I sell you a book, and then you think, all right, I've got a book, and you go next door and you print 20,000 copies of it on your photocopier and staple them together and then sell them. Is that okay to you?
No,
it's not, is it? Or, okay, how about then if you printed 20,000 copies, stapled them together and give them away?
No, that's...
Why not? Why not? Because that's precisely what you're doing. You buy the record, or somebody buys the record, and then instead of that somebody listening to it, he or she plays it free of charge to 20,000 others.
Right, I get that point.
So why should they be allowed to do that?
Well, how can I say? What happens when you get these top architects? They'll design a wonderful building, they get paid for designing it, the building's built, he doesn't turn around and say, oh, I want some money because of all these people looking at my beautiful building.
No, he doesn't, but if somebody else designs one using patented elements of his, then he wants paying. So if they steal his ideas, now straight lines are not an idea, but if he steals his ideas, then I'm afraid, yes, he wants paying. So he's not making a work of art, he's making a serviceable building, a building for actual physical use. But if somebody else said, oh, I've seen the plans of that, I'll have another, I'll have one. And I'll build one exactly to those plans, he's going to say, wait, I want the money.
Yeah, and it's the same with artists.
Same with everything. It is the same with everything. It's just music that people should be free. People think should be free.
I just think they're greedy myself. Very, very greedy.
How are they greedy?
Because they make I don't know, yeah, they used to, I don't know how it is now in music, but they make a record, it goes in the charts, they make a lot of money out of it.
Well, they don't, you see.
Well,
first of all, they don't make a lot of money. Perhaps the performer makes money on the sale of the record, the writer makes money, and the producer make money on the use of the music. But the clarinet player in the background gets bugger all.
Well, he gets a wage, Alec. I mean,
well, he gets a wage, yes.
Gets a wage, and I bet it's not minimum wage.
The whole purpose of the original purpose of the Performing Rights Society was that people would just... You didn't used to buy records, you used to buy the music, you used to buy the sheet music. That's how it used to operate. That's how the music publishers made their money. So along would come Joe Garrity, the singing blacksmith. That's a character from Dickens, by the way. Not the singing. Anyway, it's Gargery. But Joe Gargery, the singing blacksmith, on Music Hall, would have to pay for the sheet music of that. And he would then perform and do all of that. If anybody else wanted it, they would go out and they would buy it. But, of course, the difference now is, and when I say now, I mean quite a few years ago, decades and decades ago, we developed a process where we could record the sound. Now, once we got into the business where we could record the sound, we also simultaneously got into the business where we could replay the sound. So if you wanted to hear Joe Gargery, the singing blacksmith, you didn't have to attend his function, he didn't have to buy the music, nobody bought the music, you simply recorded him and played his record. And everybody listened to it. And suddenly, the music publisher's getting nothing. Joe Gargery is getting nothing. And you're thinking, well, that sounds fair to me.
Still seems like a very, very greedy grab, especially, as you keep saying, lots of people on very, very basic hourly rates. And I just think it's a bit naughty. Well, I think it's very naughty.
Well, I'm a firm believer in those in the entertainment business. I wonder why I think this should be paid for their work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't expect to read books for free. Even in the libraries these days, the libraries have to pay per borrowing of every book to the author.
Yeah,
so why should the music people be left out?
Because well, it's greed.
Okay. Well, I don't think expecting to be paid for your work is greedy.
They've been paid initially.
Right now there's a bloke up a ladder. There's a bloke up a ladder at our house putting windows in. I don't think he's being greedy. I think he's making his living.
Yes, he is. And the musician makes his living when he makes that record or he writes that music or whatever it is. And once it's done, he gets paid for it. And then that's it, finished, done.
Okay, well then, with your plan, they'll be giving records away. Good luck with it. Cheers, Dennis.
No wrong with that.
No wrong with that, of course, unless you're the person giving them away. Good on you, Dennis. Dennis thinks we shouldn't have to pay to listen to music that we haven't bought. Walter in Romilly, hiya.
Hello, Alan. Lobby Ludd. Surely he was a character created by Graham Greene in Brighton Rock. He didn't really exist. That's according to my recollection.
But there can be more than one Lobby Ludd.
Well, maybe.
And maybe the newspaper that decided to use that character chose to use the name.
Well, he was a very seedy individual, And they made the film, didn't they, with Richard Attenborough, and he was a very seedy individual as well. I forget his name now, but I'm quite certain that Lobby Ludd never really sort of existed. He was a fictional character.
Well, yes.
By Graham Greene. In my memory, that is. If my memory serves, that is what he was. He was never a real person.
Well, it depends on your definition of real, doesn't it?
Yeah,
if you say Lobby Ludd wasn't a real person, he was just a character, but that's like saying Hamlet isn't a real person. You know, you're absolutely correct, Hamlet isn't.
That's right.
However, when you put on a play, there is somebody playing the role of Hamlet, providing it's the right play. There's somebody playing the role of Hamlet, and the same would be the case for the bloke that wandered about with a pocket full of fivers on behalf of the Daily Mirror.
Well,
he's a real person.
He is a real person.
But his name's not Lobby Ludd.
His name wasn't Lobby Ludd.
No, but he might well, seeing as how the Daily Mirror of what you might call personalised their advertising campaign, their marketing strategy, they've personalised it into the character of Lobby Ludd on the grounds that everybody knows the character of Lobby Ludd because they saw the Graham Greene film.
Maybe that's the case.
Maybe it is. I've no idea.
I've no idea.
I still think it was Chalky White.
I've no idea. I would not. You know, I would not get into any controversy about it with anybody, but that was my interpretation, that Lobby Ludd was a character devised by Graham Greene and who never really sort of existed. He was just a character in the book.
Well, maybe you could well be right.
I don't know, but I think I am.
We'll go with it.
Okay.
And maybe the Daily Mirror nicked it.
And maybe they did.
And maybe they should have paid.
Maybe they should have paid.
Good on you, Walter.
Cheers, Alan.
I think we've gone full circle. We'll stop there.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. We were talking earlier with Tony about the Veterans Association. There's a lapel badge. There's a lapel badge. I'd be entitled to acquire and wear it. I shan't be doing, for reasons that I'm not going to go into, because I can't be bothered. But for generations, I'm just looking at the website now, for generations our armed forces have served their country across the world in many roles, from war fighting, peacekeeping and reconstruction to home defence. In so doing, they've defended our country, our way of life and our cherished values. A large number of our veterans are young and active and now use the skills, the discipline, the leadership qualities they learned in the armed forces to benefit their civilian employers and the wider community. The Ministry of Defence Strategy for Veterans highlights that because of all this, highlights that because of all this, it is important to focus on supporting veterans of all ages, blah, 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 blah. To promote recognition of veterans by the wider British public, the unique and unifying symbol of HM Armed Forces Veterans Badge was introduced. This was introduced in May 2004, and I've just been speed reading, in other words, not really concentrating because I was talking to a gentleman at the time, but speed reading their website. And it looks very much like the badge is available free of charge. But you have to have served in the armed forces. The badge is not awarded posthumously because it's for survivors. So veterans who served in the armed forces of other countries and those who served alongside HM Armed Forces are not eligible. So if you worked in the Canadian Navy, the Royal Australian Air Force, you're not entitled to it, even if you were working alongside HM Armed Forces. So there you are. It's a survivor's badge, not available posthumously, and it would appear that it's free of charge. So there you are. The website, well, that's dead easy. There's also a free phone helpline if you want that number. Should I give you that number? The free phone number is 0800 169 2277. 0800 169 2277. So that's the phone number if you're interested in the Veterans Badge. UK Armed Forces Veterans Badge, and it's, as I say, it's a government body issuing it. It's not It's not just some organisation out there. They're actually based in Thornton Cleveland, but so's everything else, really. Anyway, I'll give you that number again. It's the 0800 169 2277. That's a free phone number. So if you're interested in that, there you are. That's the way that you can get it. Frank from Netherley says, radio stations pay the PRS to play music. Why should listeners pay as well? It's a good question, simply answered. The answer to that question is radio stations pay to play the music to individual listeners. What we don't pay for is for you to use your radio as a source of entertainment to others. So we pay to play the music to you, your family. What we don't do is pay for you to play the music commercially. And if somebody's listening to it who is in your employ, that's not your family, and that's deemed to be commercial. I don't make the rules, don't look at me. Brian in Stockport. Hiya, Brian.
Hiya, pal.
What have you got?
Just a quickie. You used to work for Citizens Advice, and my son's been trying to get through to them for ages, and they're always busy. So my first thought was you. What it is, he's received a fine from Hammersmith, London, for being in a bus lane. But the problem is, it was in March last year, which is 14 months ago. Is he still due to pay it? 14 months seems a long time.
Well, it is a long time. But it is a long time. Did he do it, first of all?
Yes, there's
Right.
a photograph of him.
Right, well, that kind of confirms it.
Yeah.
There are rules and regulations about notice of intent to prosecute.
Yeah.
And in most traffic cases, I don't know in this one, in most traffic cases, if you are not notified within a specified time, and I think it's as small as 14, as short as 14 days, if you're not notified within a specified time, then the prosecution fails on those grounds. There was a case of it just the other week where the solicitor that gets everybody famous off got somebody off on the grounds. I think it was Flintoff. Yes, it was. It was Flintoff, the cricketer, and got him off a traffic rap on the grounds that the notice of intended prosecution did not arrive in time. And so he didn't have to pay. He wasn't fined. This is slightly different in that it is a fixed penalty fine.
Yeah.
So they're not notifying him of intention to prosecute, they're notifying him of the fine that's been levied. And it might be different. You will need to talk to the Citizens Advice Bureau, and I do know they're busy. They're busy because they're volunteers.
Yeah.
And they need more volunteers, like all voluntary organisations. But
I mean,
that's
it's only 60 quid,
well,
and he's willing to pay it because he's got the photograph there. But it was me that said, hang on, 14
there is
a long time.
Well, it is. Hang on, I sound a bit decent because I've gone over to my boot box. Hang on, where are we going here now? That won't really do. There we go. Excuse me a second. Let me see if I can find it quickly in my reference book. But as I say, notice of intent to prosecute is relevant certainly in moving traffic offences. Whether it's the same for fixed penalties, I actually don't know. There's probably somebody listening that does know, and in which case they'll probably ring us and tell us on 0161 228 2255. But I would check with your Citizens Advice Bureau. Alternatively, and the problem with these fixed prices is they tend to go up if you don't respond in the time.
220 odd.
Indeed, but it might be worth writing back in the first place and saying, look, this has taken 80 months. I think it's no longer actionable on the grounds that I didn't receive notice of intent to prosecute within a reasonable time.
Actually.
Yeah. Well, whatever, but it's certainly over the specified time of an NIP, of a notice of intent to prosecute, if that is relevant. But I can't tell you whether it's relevant, and my magistrates court guide doesn't offer any advice on it, I'll have to look in a different book, and I can't just sit here reading out of books.
Yeah, I understand that.
Because it'll be utterly boring. Not to suggest that, to suggest that what we do anyway isn't utterly boring, but me reading out of a book, I can't see the attraction of that.
I find it interesting, all the different things that you have on.
Well, there you are. There's no accounting for taste, is there, Brian? Listen, mate, you need to check with your CAB, but if he writes back, first of all, and says, no, I'm not liable because you didn't give me intention to prosecute, they may well write back and say, got you, doesn't apply.
Yeah.
We shall see. All right, mate.
All right.
All right, good luck to you. If anyone does know the answer to that on Brian's son's behalf, do give us a call, 0161 228 2255. And we're going to talk to Jim in Cheshire very shortly. Ken from Ratcliffe thinks Chalky White was a mate of Dick Barton's secret agent. Frank from Netherley says radio stations pay PRS. We've said that. Jim in Cheshire with you after the sport.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Headline news.
Police want to talk to you if you know anything about an incident in Manchester last night where a man was shot 3 times by an armed gang. There are moves to cut the gas and electricity bills of some of the poorest households. And after more than 6 months in Iraq, 550 soldiers from the Duke of Lancaster's regiment have arrived home. Manchester's weather dull but should brighten up this afternoon. Highs of 19 degrees Celsius. I'm Faye Rusco.
BBC Radio Manchester. 2020 traffic.
Severe delays are being reported on the Metrolink between Piccadilly and Eccles. It's all because of a broken down tram, I'm afraid. Now, it's being moved to the depot as we speak, and Metrolink estimate that a normal service should hopefully be resumed by approximately 1 o'clock. Of course, we will keep you updated on that situation as news arrives in. Traffic's still looking very heavy, I notice, on the cameras on the M6 southbound between 19 Knutsford and 17 Sandbach. Again, no real reason for it, just due to the sheer volume of traffic using that part of the motorway. Certainly no accidents or incidents, thankfully. And if you're heading on towards the M56, again, generally things seem fairly quiet from junction 2 out towards junction 7. In fact, either side of the carriageway moving at a nice steady pace for the moment. Don't forget, if you can update us, maybe there's a queue that you're stuck in that I've not mentioned, call in hands-free 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester. Sports with Delith Lloyd.
Preston North End's ground Deepdale could stage Manchester City's UEFA Cup first qualifying round. The Blues are unable to stage the game at Eastlands due to pop concerts and boxing events taking place. It was thought Huddersfield's Galfarm Stadium was the first choice for the tie on either July the 17th or 31st, but City are thought to want to keep it this side of the Pennines. City captain Richard Dunn, meanwhile, is understood to be close to agreeing a £5 million move to Tottenham. According to reports, the Blues defender is set to undergo a medical at White Hart Lane. The bosses of the world's football associations have voted to back FIFA President Sepp Blatter's plan to try to cap the number of foreign players in national leagues. Delegates at the FIFA Congress in Sydney overwhelmingly supported the 6+5 proposal, which would limit the number of foreign players in any club starting lineup to 5. But sports lawyer Nick Bittell says Blatter's plan goes against current European law.
The European law is very, very clear. You can't discriminate on the grounds of someone's nationality when it comes to employment. So I can't see that this is actually going to go very far, and I believe that what is happening is, in effect, this is a form of negotiation. The Commission has already said they have no objections to the UEFA rule about homegrown players, which doesn't discriminate on the grounds of nationality.
Watford striker Nathan Ellington has joined Derby on a season-long loan. The move reunites him with his former Wigan manager Paul Jewell. Nottingham Forest have signed Wales international striker Rob Earnshaw from Derby for £2.65 million. Lancashire look to be putting their Friends Provident Trophy campaign behind them after a decent start in their county championship match against Yorkshire at Headingley. Chris Malaband has the latest.
Yorkshire 67 for 2 in the 25th over, with Anthony McGrath on 31 and Jacques Rudolph on 13. So it's not been a bad morning session for the Lancastrians after stand-in captain Luke Sutton won the toss and elected to field first. The 2 men to go for Yorkshire, Joe Sayers, LBW to Sarge Mahmood without scoring. That was 0 for 1 in the 3rd over. And fellow opener Adam Lyth, caught by Luke Sutton off the bowling of Mahmood for 19, which made the score 47 for 2. Rudolph has twice come close to being dismissed. Stephen Croft had a very good LBW shout when Rudolph was just on 2, and then one on 8. The same bowler, Francois Duplessis, not able to hold on to a difficult catch at third slip. Even Stephen in the Roses at the moment, 67 for 2, Yorkshire.
We'll keep you updated throughout the day. Lancashire's James Anderson has been named in the England squad to face New Zealand in the 2020 match at Old Trafford and the one-day series next month. Warwickshire's Tim Ambrose has been named as the wicketkeeper in place of Phil Mustard. Wigan coach Brian Noble has named new signing Cameron Phelps in the squad to face Leeds at Headingley in the Challenge Cup quarter-final tomorrow. Phelps, who arrived in the UK on Wednesday, is looking forward to pulling on the cherry and white shirts.
Wigan, as everyone knows, is such a great club and just a great opportunity to prove myself over here. I spoke to a few people. I spoke to Trent, Mark Riddell and Brent Sherwin before I came, and they've just told me a little bit about the place, and Mark's obviously excited about coming next year, and Brent and Trent have told me it's a real good place to be and play football.
And there'll be full match commentary of Leeds versus Wigan in Manchester Sports from 2 tomorrow. Finally, if you're a Stockport fan, you won't want to forget this in a hurry.
And Dickinson may well have just fired Stockport County into League One for next season. Gareth Owen holds aloft the trophy that proclaims Stockport County as winners of the League Two playoff final, and more precious than that silver jug.
Well, you can reminisce about that Wembley win with Stockport manager Jim Gannon. He's the live studio guest in Manchester Sports this evening from 7. He'll be taking your calls and emails on 0161 228 2255 and Manchester Sports at bbc.co.uk.
Your Sunday Morning Lion with Mike Shaft.
How important is religion in politics?
Oh, it's a difficult question, but I felt very strongly about Bush's foreign policy.
Are you suggesting that the problem is religion?
No, I think it's the political uses made of religion.
Mike Shaft.
What has changed? The generals, have they softened their line?
I think what really has come through is the resilience and the resourcefulness and the coming together of community leaders. It's been tremendous.
Manchester's faith, spirit, and life's difficult questions with Mike Shaft.
Let us not strain the point.
Sunday morning from 7 on BBC Radio Manchester.
Right, I'm beginning to feel like the ball in a ping-pong game now. Dick Barton's mate was Snow White. Snowy White, not Snow White. She pricked her finger. It's the worst thing you can do with a finger. Steady. Anyway, Dick Barton's mate, apparently, was Snowy White, not Chalky White. Right. I can't say the subject's closed because of that other rubbish I taught when I say you can talk about anything, but I could live without getting to the bottom of that, just as a matter of interest. Yeah. And Darren in Warrington said, when you said you were in favour of entertainers being paid, is that because you have an entertainer as a friend? That is very, very cruel. You swine.
With you on the phones. 0161 228 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Jim in Cheshire. Hiya, Jim.
Hi, Alan. I was listening to the lady who was from a bakery in Bolton, is that right?
Indeed, that's where she was from, Margaret.
Right. Nothing against that lady or anybody else particularly, but I think it's like many things, isn't it? If you don't have enough information, you can get a bit of the wrong end of the stick. Now, I've recorded symphonies and pieces of music with various orchestras, and only for the past perhaps 10 years or so, I signed up to to be a member of what was called, and you've heard of it yourself, Phonographic Performance Limited.
Yes.
I just wanted to put one side of the coin, if you like, so that people out there might have an idea. It's a bit like them and us. If you have a star performer, say like Paul McCartney, obviously it goes without saying, that type of performer gains huge amounts of money for fees, etc. And at the other end of the scale, you've got the humble orchestral musicians or people like us. And just to give you an example, we recorded, it was probably something like the New World Symphony by Dvorak, very well known, used to advertise Hovis bread, you know. And over a period of time, quite a long time, each time that particular track was played on the radio, it generated 1 pence per play. And I think we got a cheque for 60 pence for that particular track. and you're very grateful for sort of getting royalties in that way, but it's almost a bit of a joke in a way that you think that you're on the radio and you're getting a couple of pence or something. Of course, they all mount up, you know, watch the pennies and the pounds will take care of themselves, if you like, but I'm not quite sure. I don't know much about the Performing Rights Society at all, despite the fact I'm a musician, and it does seem unfair on the one hand to be given a bill to pay for a license if you want to play the radio, where for years you've done it as a matter of course. And I'm not quite sure if the Performing Rights Society passes on any of that money they take in license fees to the
Yes, they do.
performers.
Yes, they
Do
do.
they?
That's
Right.
exactly who they pass it on to.
Right. But,
It's distributed, if I remember correctly, and I could so very easily not,
yeah.
but if I remember correctly, it's distributed in accordance with they sort of do a formula based on purchases.
All right.
Do you know what
Is
I
that
mean?
purchases of like CDs? or
Purchases of CDs, music,
Yeah.
and things like that. So without, in the case of yours, because there won't be many sales,
Yeah.
then you will get few plays. It's almost the same as authors in libraries. Only there, it's done
Yeah.
on the basis of the number of times the book is taken out of the library.
How long has it been in existence, Alan? A long time.
PRS.
Performing Rights, yeah.
I think a very long time, rather than just the simple answer of a long time. I
Yeah.
think
Do you
it.
the general public haven't been aware of it en masse, if you
Well,
like,
they-
and that's why it causes this upset, if you like. You know, what? We've been listening for years, and now
Well,
we've got to pay.
they have in recent years. They've got to they've got more proactive, as it
Yeah.
were, and so they've started to say, hang on a minute, we need to get this sorted. We need people to be paying to perform our music. Artists have got very, very grumpy about it. And when you said how long's it been going, I very nearly said 100 years.
Right.
And I would have been wrong, because it was founded in 1914.
Oh, right. Oh, blimey.
And they are the collecting society for UK songwriters, composers and music publishers. So it doesn't go to the artiste. The artiste, as you probably know, gets the money from you get the money from broadcast plays, but you also get the money from the sale of the record. But this is for the songwriters, the composers and the music publishers. It's their copyright that is being broadcast or being listened to by others who haven't paid for it.
I don't know that much about it myself. But it was a frustrating thing. I felt sympathy for the lady, obviously, because no one would want to get a bill out of the blue, and if it stops you having to put your radio on, it sounds a bit daft in a way.
Doesn't it just? Doesn't it?
A bit frustrating. My wife teaches in a school, and she said the deputy head has taken it upon himself to install a sound system from his office and on the corridors in the school. He's got speakers set up round there. She said she's playing the piano for the assembly in the morning, and in the background outside on the corridor is this piped music he's playing from his computer discs. And I said something about this PRS, not knowing much about it. I said, jokingly, have you got a license, or has he got a license for it? She said, well, I'm sure he hasn't. So I said, well, perhaps the school ought to apply for one, and then, because all the staff apparently are up in arms that this piped music is being played while lessons are taking place. Sounds a bit bizarre to me.
Well, unless it's a music lesson, I don't see the need of it, but there you are.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the other side of the coin. I'm intrigued that you only get a couple of coppers for your music.
Well, the funny thing, give you an example. In the symphony orchestra, there might be 70, 80 people, and collectively, the rank and file, of which I'm one of the many, get the few coppers. But if the conductor or a soloist from within the orchestra are named on that CD, they get substantially more. And I wouldn't know, obviously, what more, but I've heard down the grapevine from colleagues a few years ago, oh, so-and-so in the orchestra, he's just had his payoff and he's got about £4,000 or £5,000. I thought, oh, God, I got 120.
Rather nice, isn't it? But there you are.
Well, there you
Orchestral
go.
musicians, of course, have always been the, should we say, the poorest paid in the museum business.
Well, now that we've all had our rights not taken away from us, but bought out, if you like. And
Yeah, that's right.
now-
When you become a member of an orchestra, the orchestra then buys your rights. Otherwise, it would be, if nothing else, it would be an administrative nightmare.
Yeah.
Keeping track of who played on what piece and all the rest of it. It would be an abomination of...
Well, there's another, just to let you go, and I'll say one more thing. There's something that comes through once a year called GVL, and it's the same system, but from Germany. And in order to claim on that system, you've got to supply details of all the tracks, blah, blah, they did, how much you got paid, etc., and then fill it in, have it signed, and then send it off to Berlin somewhere. And I did one about 15 years ago, and I got £10, but they kept it on account for me, so it wouldn't let you have it till it reached 25. Anyway, ever since then, each time the phone comes, they rip it up, because it's so damn complicated. But there are some people who, I believe, pursue it and get handsomely rewarded, but a
Good
lot
on
of them
'em.
just can't be bothered, you know.
Good on him. Good
Thanks
to
for
talk to you,
listening,
Jim. My pleasure. 0161 228 2255. Julie in Goulburn. Hi.
Hi, Alan. How are you?
I'm very well.
I want some advice, please.
All right, we'll give it a spin.
In December last year, we took delivery of a dining suite. In February, we noticed that a crack had developed on the chair leg going right to the top. On February the 18th, a representative from the store came and took photographs of the said crack and said, yes, it needs replacing. Got in touch with them, and he said the firm said they'd have a chair with us within 6 weeks. This was February the 18th. Nothing happened. They said they needed a bit longer, and we're now at a situation where 3 weeks ago they said that they were going to replace all the chairs because there's 6 chairs, but it will be another 8 weeks. And I just wondered where I stand with regard legally with regard to this purchase.
When did you buy the suite?
December.
Okay.
It's a dining suite with 6 chairs.
And when did you notice the fault?
February.
February.
Yes.
And they've said they're going to replace the chair, but still haven't done so.
No. They said they were replacing it. It will be there in 6 weeks. This was after February.
But they still haven't done so.
We've still not got anything, no.
Right. How much was it?
560.
How did you pay for it?
We paid by Visa.
Okay. I would say you're entitled to have the whole blessed lot replaced if they're unable to find a chair.
What they've said now, Alan, is that they're going to replace all the chairs. They've changed the design.
All right.
And they're going to change all of them.
Are you happy with the new design?
We've not seen the new design yet.
Then I should hold your fire for the moment, but also say to them, hang on a minute. What I want is, first of all, I want to see the design of a chair, because I ain't going to take a chair I don't like. Especially if I have to have 6 of the beggars or whatever the number is. So I'm not having a chair I don't like. And on top of that, if you cannot replace this chair with an identical chair, then the whole contract is over, because you can't bring me back to the position I was in when I bought the stuff. So you either get 6 of these, or you get 6 others that I approve, or you give me your money back. And I'm
Right.
not settling for anything else.
What sort of time should we give them, though, Alan?
I would now give them 28 days, because you've allowed them to build the time. I know you didn't know this, but what was going on when you were having the conversation was you were renegotiating the contract.
I
Or
see.
at least you were saying you were giving them permission. So now you need to close it, and you need to phone them up and then follow it up with a letter and say, look, you've got... I mean, I'm being generous here, but you've got 28 days to get this sorted, and these are your 3 options. There are no others. You replace the chair, or you replace it with 6 chairs, or however the number was, but I have to approve the design.
Right.
Or you give me my money back. whole of my money back for the whole suite, and you come and take the lot away. Those are the three options. There are no others. That's what you say to them.
Right, that's
and you say that on the phone, and then you write a letter saying, further to my letter of, you keep a copy of it and you send it to them.
Right.
I would also send a copy of that to your credit card company, notifying them, and if all else fails, you'll be suing them for the money.
Right. Thank you very much for your help. Thank you, Alan. Bye-bye.
Come back on when you need the next step. 0161 228 2255.
You'll be here from 6, you'll be ready, and you'll have a smile on your face.
Don't tell me what to do.
Fair enough.
Eamon and Diane, Monday from 6.
Well, what can one say? You can also email, radiomanchester@bbc.co.uk. The veterans number, a number of people said they didn't have time to write it down. I'll give it you after the 1 o'clock news.
95.1 FM.
DAB Digital Radio.
And the World Wide Web.
This is Manchester.
BBC Radio Manchester.
At 1 o'clock, police patrol a Wythenshawe neighbourhood after a man was shot 3 times.
It would appear that the offenders were not only prepared to break in, but they were prepared to chase down their victim like a quarry and shoot him at point-blank range.
And a welcome back to Northwest troops from Iraq.
And Sven is set to leave Eastlands next week.
Well, this afternoon is going to be mostly dry with sunny spells and the small risk of a shower. Top temperatures 19 Celsius.
If you're travelling on the M6 southbound, traffic really is creeping along between 19 Knutsford and 17 Sandbach. Do take care.
Good afternoon, I'm Faye Rusco. Police want to talk to you if you know anything about an incident in Newhall Green where a man was shot 3 times by an armed gang. The victim, who's said to be known to police, was shot twice through the window of a house on Furbank Road in Newhall Green. The men then forced their way into the house and shot him again. His girlfriend and 4-year-old son saw the whole thing. Detective Chief Inspector Mark Gibby says police can protect witnesses who come forward with information.
We do have tried and trusted methods of dealing with these situations, so they can have full confidence in us. And I would say to the community that there is reassurance going on. The mounted officers will be patrolling the area. The local neighbourhood policing team are in the area, and as I speak, officers are doing door-to-door inquiries.
If you're struggling with your gas and electricity bills, then the government say they will soon be able to help. The plan involves the government sharing people's personal information with energy companies to make sure those most in need get the cheapest deals. Paying those bills is becoming harder for everyone, but particularly difficult for those on a limited income, like single mother Jane Senior.
Yeah, I just couldn't afford it. I was paying too much, 60 on electric, 20 on gas. I was having to take out loans. When I couldn't get loans, I was having to borrow off friends and family, and I'm still paying off all that debt now.
After more than 6 months in Iraq, 550 soldiers have arrived home. The troops from the Duke of Lancaster's regiments carried out patrols in Basra and helped train the new Iraqi army. Carolyn Hunt from Horwich welcomed back her 2 sons, Nicky and Lewis.
Oh, just so proud and so relieved that they're back home safe. It's been a worrying 7 months. And every time the phone's gone at an ungodly hour, I've just been so worried, but just thank God that they're safe and back home.
Police are trying to trace the mother of a Bolton man who died after being hit by a car on Monday. 33-year-old Lee Jones was rushed to hospital after the accident outside Moor Lane bus station. He suffered serious head injuries and died earlier this morning. Officers are trying to find Antoinette Moran, who hadn't seen her son for 21 years. If you're over 40, the North West Ambulance Service are telling you to eat better foods, take more exercise and stop smoking. So no surprise there then. The advice is part of a big drive aimed at preventing a member of your family from having a heart attack or a stroke. Paramedic Sam English has to deal with the aftermath.
Not too many weeks ago, just a gentleman on his way home from a night shift. Young family, 48 years old, strangely a smoker and overweight. Well, in the space of 4 or 5 hours, he was dead. And you can imagine the effects on a young family of that, and you sort of think to yourself, well, maybe a little bit of public health intervention, maybe a little bit of trying to treat the causes of some of these conditions, it may have saved him.
And it's been confirmed that Amy Winehouse will play at Nelson Mandela's 90th birthday concert. Queen and Annie Lennox are already confirmed for the show, which takes part in London's Hyde Park next month.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Will Perry.
Well, Sven-Göran Eriksson's time as Manchester City manager is expected to come to an end next week. Speculation surrounding the Swede's future has been rife for weeks, and it was thought City chairman Thaksin Shinawatra would make a decision by June the 15th. City senior sources have indicated Eriksson's time will come to an end sooner rather than later. Meanwhile, City could be set to play their UEFA Cup first qualifying round at Preston North End's Deepdale ground. The Blues are unable to stage the game at Eastlands due to pop concerts taking place. It was thought Huddersfield's Galfarm Stadium was the first choice for the tie on either July the 17th or the 31st, but City are thought to want to keep it this side of the Pennines. Well, it's lunch in the War of the Roses match between Lancashire and Yorkshire. Chris Malaban's at Headingley.
Lancashire made a bright start, but Yorkshire probably marginally ahead on points at lunch. 90 for 2, the White Rose. Joe Sayers and Adam Lyth, the men out. Jacques Rudolph and Anthony McGrath at the wicket. Lancashire made a great start. Mahmood removing Sayers without the score on the board. LBW without troubling the scorers. And then Adam Lyth was also dismissed by Saj Mahmood, caught behind by Luke Sutton for 19. At 47 for 2, Lancashire had their tails up, but Rudolph and McGrath have built a decent partnership. Rudolph, though, twice surviving against Stephen Croft when it looked like he may go. LBW shout from Croft turned down by umpire John Steele, and then Francois Duplessis dropping Rudolph at third slip when he was on 8. But Rudolph's still there on 26, McGrath on 41. At lunch, Yorkshire 90 for 2.
And finally, Lancashire's James Anderson has been named in the England squad to face New Zealand in the 2020 match at Old Trafford and the one-day series next month. Warwickshire's Tim Ambrose has been named as the wicket-keeper.
BBC Radio Manchester satellite weather with Heather Stott.
Well, the showers that have been around this morning will still be around this afternoon, but there will be fewer of them, and that's going to give the cloud a chance to thin and break, so we'll see some sunny spells as well. Top temperatures this afternoon, a very pleasant 19 Celsius.
Allan Beswick with you on the phones. 0161 228 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Hi, all right. Good. I'm Allan Beswick with you for the next hour. This number for the UK Veterans Badge. It's a badge, as I say, looking at the website, it appears to be free of charge. Anyway, you can get it if you served in the armed forces. That's it. That's it. You can get it if you served in the armed forces. Relatives, all that lot, nout. All that palaver, nothing. If you served in the armed forces and survived the experience breathing, then whilst you are still alive, you're entitled to the badge. If you then snuff it, you're not. So that's it. And if you served as a member of the, the Australian Air Force alongside British troops, you're not allowed it. You've just got to be a member of the UK. You've got to be a serving member of the UK Armed Forces, and you've got to have lived through the experience. That's it. And you get a nice little enamel badge for your lapel. The number, if you want to make further enquiries, 0800 169 2277. Once again, for the last time from me, 0800 169 2277. That's it. We've moved on a pace. Sort of. Ken in Warrington. Hiya.
Hiya, you all right?
Yep, what can we do for you?
Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering how I could get become an extra on TV or film or commercials, and I wondered how many of your listeners can point me in the right direction.
I'll point you in the right direction. Get an agent.
Get what?
An agent.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not the only way, but it's the most likely to be successful. You need to sign on with a theatrical agent.
Oh, I see.
Now, there's loads of those. They're all over the place. Some are more successful at getting you extra work than others. But what most of the television programmes and film programmes do, rather than recruit extras, they actually buy them in, if you like, from agencies. So if they want an extra that looks a particular way, they might be doing, they might be doing an African film and they want black people.
So they won't want fat ginger blokes?
They might want fat ginger blokes. I've actually been an extra on programmes, which I did for a bet some years ago. But most of the soaps In fact, I know the woman that engages the actors at Granada for Coronation Street, but most of the soaps use extras, and they employ the extras rather than mess about auditioning them and all the rest of it. They just employ them from theatrical agencies. So they will phone up a theatrical agency that they work with and say, look, we need 4 people for background work, walk-on parts, as they're called. We need 4 people for walk-on parts a week on Tuesday. How are you fixed? And they ring round and say, well, what do you want? They say, well, we actually need a fat one. And then it works out. If when you're there, instead of just being in the background, the director tells you to do something, such as walk over there, pick up that newspaper, open it, and put it down again, you get paid extra for that, because that's under direction.
Yeah.
If you have to drive a vehicle, you get paid extra for driving. So if all you're doing is just being in the way, then you get paid the extras rate, the walk-on part rate. But if you have to do anything that requires direction, you get more money. And if you speak, Lord above, your money nearly doubles. Could go up as much as a £5.
Oh, great.
All right. The other way, of course, is to keep your eye on By the Stage magazine every week.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when they're making one of these huge films and they need 10,000 people in the background, well, they just say, we want 10,000 people, turn up at 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning, you'll be on.
All reading newspapers.
All reading newspapers or whatever the job is. It might just be walking down the street.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you do it.
Okay.
A theatrical agent is the best way.
Can I ask you one other thing as well?
Yeah?
Have you got any plans for going on Freeview or anything like that? Because I've got a DAB radio, but I get very bad reception on it, your station. And another one in Manchester, which you won't name.
Okay. I don't even know what you mean by preview.
Freeview.
Oh, Freeview.
Yeah.
My apologies. I've no idea. We're on the internet, obviously. We're streamed live on the internet. Okay, well, that's fair enough. I've no idea whether we're going on the satellite or Freeview. I don't know. They wouldn't. I'd be the last to know. Someone would come on here like you and say, hey, Bezzy, do you know you're on Freeview? And I'd say, really? We will, of course, have had an email, but I never read any of them. They're all rubbish.
Well, it's all right.
So I've no idea, mate. All right.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers, have a good one. 0161 228 2255. So there you are. We've got the lad work. What more can we do? Brett drives a Hackney carriage. Does he have to pay the PRS for his radio? Now, I think technically the answer to that, Brett, is yes, if you have people in the cab. In other words, if you have passengers. When it's just you listening, no, because that's your personal thing. But if you have passengers, I'd say probably yes. But the PRS Society is still working round the shops. I don't think they've started on Hackney carriages yet, but my first reaction is probably yes. I would suggest at this stage, Brett, that you don't ask. Because if you ask them and they say yes, you're then on their files. If you don't ask them and they eventually decide to turn their firepower onto taxis, when they get to you, you can say, oh, I never knew, and you'll just have to pay from then. That's the dishonest way of doing it, and it's the one I recommend. Okay, so I would guess that looking at the rules, probably. 0161 228 2255. Alan in Bolton. I nearly missed you out then. Alan, what have you got? That's because I did miss you out. There you are. I don't know what happened then. Does anybody know the song with the lines, may you always be a dreamer, and this is what Alan was on about. Yeah, it wasn't a phone call at all. He wants to know, Alan in Bolton wants to know, do you recognise the name of the song, or do you know the song, the title of which contains these lines? May you always be a dreamer, and may all your dreams come true. Do you know that song? Yeah, I can name this song in... Yes, quite, yes. How scary is that? Anyway, there you are. Alan in Bolton wants to know, do you recognise these lines, and if so, what song are they from? May you always be a dreamer, and may all your dreams come true. I think we're slowly turning into the old codgers in the Daily Mirror. I'm certainly slowly turning into an old codger, that's for sure. Joseph in Middleton, hiya.
Good afternoon, Alan.
Good afternoon, Joseph.
May I just bring up two small issues?
Go on.
The first one is about all this legislation we get, it seems to come from the EU, and we pay taxes to them, and all it does is provide more legislation that we do not need. Access to trade that we had already and would continue to have without the EU, and finally a voice in European affairs. A voice which so far has spoken only to abet the destruction of our farming, fishing, post office. A voice which has surrendered the control of our legislation, our judicial system and our borders. What I want to know, Alan, is, I'm leading up to something here, is it value for money? Because this morning when I woke up, there's a recycling bin at the end of my drive. Now, I'm disabled, and when they give you these, I've never used one, it's got 2 wheels. Now, I know I can't use it, and I have rang the council, a gentleman's coming to see me to help me. Now, don't misunderstand me, I want to cooperate, you know what I mean? I don't want to be a nuisance. But if there was 4 wheels on it, I could push it, because if I fall down, I can't get up again. People have to pick me up. And I was wondering why they can't put them with 4 wheels instead of a 45-degree angle, because my wrists and hands are so weak. I have nurses come that inject me twice a week with an anti-inflammatory drug, which helps me. I wondered why they just couldn't put another couple of wheels on, and I won't be whining to you at the moment.
You're not whining? Why didn't they put another couple of wheels?
I'm not complaining about the council, don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying I'd like to try and cope like everybody else. They tell us to be independent, and that's what I want to do. But I can't do it with just 2 wheels on the wheel.
I can answer that. There are 2 reasons why they don't put 4 wheels on, if you'll pardon the arithmetic.
Right.
One is that if it's got 4 wheels on it and you live on a slope, it'll always be at the bottom of the hill. You can laugh, but that's the truth.
No, I
and
never
also,
thought of it.
if there were 4 wheels on it, you wouldn't be able to push it. They'd have to be swivel wheels rather than static wheels, and so they would cost considerably more per wheelie bin. If there were 4 wheels, you wouldn't be able to steer it, you see.
Yeah.
So they put 2 on so that A, it doesn't roll away, and B, so that you can steer it. Now that of course means that you can't use it. And for that, I should get in touch with your local authority and tell them precisely that you can't use your wheelie bin because of your physical restriction. And they ought to be able to deal with that.
May I ask a favour, Alan?
You can ask me as many favours as you want, Joseph.
Well, I belong to not that I go as much now, the Royal Naval Association.
Yeah.
And we have a branch in North Manchester. And, of course, the numbers are dying off. You know, it's good to see what few's left.
Yeah.
And it is a charity, and we support a children's charity and that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do a D-Day celebration 40s concert.
Oh, excellent.
On Thursday the 5th of June 2008 at 7 p.m.
That's next Thursday, isn't it?
Yes, at the Vassar Club, Blakely. And, of course, we'll pay for this, but with any profit, we share it with the Sea Cadets and other organisations, you know what I mean?
Yeah, fabulous.
To encourage them, the young people. And so we're hiring G.I. Jive.
Hey!
Yes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Paul Harper, Enser, singer. And the tickets are £6. And the phone number is 0161 681 5873.
Well,
and,
you might not be able to...
Thank you for allowing me to say that.
You might not be able to handle a wheelie bin, but you can certainly handle publicity. Good on you, Joseph.
Thank
I
you
hope
very
it's a
much.
great night. It's on where, Blakely?
It's at the Vassar Club, Blakely, next to the fire station.
Fabulous. And how much is it?
It's £6.
It's a bargain, isn't it, that?
Yeah, it is.
Good on you, mate. It'll be a great
and
night.
there's prizes, raffles, free raffles.
I hope there's free rum as well.
Well, there is a top for people, yeah.
I love it. I only tasted grog once, and quite frankly, you can stick it.
Well, I don't drink it myself,
No,
Alan.
I don't blame you.
I drink orange juice.
I know people that clean paintbrushes with it. Have a good day, Joseph.
Thank you very much.
Ta-ra, mate.
Bye.
0161 22
228 2255. I know a way of getting round this music licences fee, the PRS. Employ only members of your family and get the taxpayer to fund it. Only one problem. You have to be an MP. Well, Marion, they wouldn't get away with it. The taxpayer would have to pay it, of course, but they wouldn't get away with it because if you employ members of your family, they are employees, and at that time are not members of your family but employees, so you have to pay. Oh, they've got you by the short and curlies. Was it ever thus? 0161 228 2255. The PRS charges £125 for broadcast rights. Well, that's fine. I know the PRS do require a licence for personal use. Do not require a licence for personal use. Why are they not insisting that all portable and car radio purchasers purchase a licence? If I sit in the garden listening to my radio and my neighbour can hear it, surely I'm broadcasting. If I'm in the car and can hear the stereo in the neighbouring vehicle, are they not broadcasting? Well, no. And yes, they are, if you take the word in its straightforward meaning, because they're broadcasting if only you can hear it. The radio is broadcasting it to you. The record player is broadcasting it to you, as it were. But you're not broadcasting it for the entertainment of paying guests or employees or the general public. You're just playing it, and those other individuals can hear it through happenstance. So that's it. How awfully pompous that sounded, but pomposity sometimes leads you to the right answer. Yeah, I did say sometimes, certainly not always. 0161 228 2255, Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk, and of course you can text, and that's 07786 206 951. A further promise for you. I've got some words. Some published words on notice of intent to prosecute. Do you remember Brian asking about it earlier? Well, I've finally, whilst been talking, I've been looking through my books, and I've got some published words, best I can offer. Bernard in Manchester with you after the travel.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Headline News.
Police want to talk to you if you know anything about an incident in Newhall Green where a man was shot 3 times by an armed gang. Detectives are trying to trace the mother of 33-year-old Lee Jones, who died after being hit by a car in Bolton on Monday. And 550 soldiers have arrived safely back in the northwest after a 6-month tour of duty in Iraq. Manchester's weather dull but should brighten up this afternoon. Highs of 19 degrees Celsius. I'm Faye Rusco.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
Well, thankfully, normal service has now resumed on the Metrolink between Piccadilly and Eccles, following on from an earlier broken-down tram. Now to the motorways, and again, it's still looking extremely slow on the M6 southbound between junction 21 Woolston and 17 Sandbach. It's looking very, very slow indeed. If you are heading that way, please make sure that you allow yourself plenty of journey time. And if you're travelling as far afield as East Lancs Road in the Haydock area, the westbound stretch has been closed off on the A58 towards the Haydock area after 4 vehicles collided, with the diversion taking you off via the A58 through Haydock for the moment. Now, don't forget, if you can update me on anything you've heard, why not call in hands-free on 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
Helping Manchester. Help Manchester. BBC Radio Manchester Interaction with Linda Kay.
If you've got young children, it's not always easy to get out for the day and meet other mums. Well, here's the perfect opportunity. Pushy Mums is a short family walk around Chopton Water Park to raise cash to save the children. It's £5 to take part, and it's happening this Sunday, the 1st of June.
Pushy Mums is not a race. It's a short walk. It's only 1.2 miles around the water park, and it's really just to come down and push your buggies or walk your families at your leisure. There'll be loads of entertainment for kids, face painters, jugglers. We've got bands, and it should be a really fun family day out.
Victoria Lyon-Dean's the organiser, and she's holding the event to raise cash for the charity's Child Survival campaign.
At the moment, a lot of our funds are going towards helping families affected by the cyclone in Burma, and we're trying to get as much aid to them as possible. Mums and dads know more than anyone else how precious the child's life is, so we want them to come down and show their support for Save the Children. It's a good way of coming out in the community, meeting other mums, and just showing your solidarity for protecting children around the world.
The walk starts at 10:30 and there's no need to register, just turn up on the day. So that's the Pushy Mums Family Walk this Sunday at Chorlton Water Park. For more details, call Interaction 0161 244 4321.
BBC Radio Manchester Interaction with CSV Broadcast 0161 244 4321.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Aye, all right. Let's go to Bernard first, and then we'll read this stuff about NIPs. Bernard in Manchester. Hiya, mate.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right.
Good. It's about the gentleman who was on earlier about PRS and musicians being greedy. I'll give you some background first, Alan.
Go on, mate.
I was on a hit record many years ago called Jilted John. I was Gordon the Moron. At that time.
Yeah. Well, you've got to make a crust, haven't you?
Yeah. Well,
Go
that's
on,
the thing.
mate.
We'll go back to the PRS. Well, basically, the chap says, oh, they've been paid, they've had enough, and that's it. Well, basically, if you think, we're 18-year-old kids, you go to a record company. Basically, in those days, you made music to try and get an equity card.
Yeah, you did.
Before
Before
Thatcher ruined everything, and now we've got TV full of idiots because they don't need an equity card.
Yeah.
So you make a record, and somehow it got picked up by a local record company who couldn't afford to pay us, so they put you on a deal. Right, you will get 0.01 pence per copy.
Yep.
Luckily, we sold 600,000, which is great. But the thing about the man who says they've been paid and that's it, if you think how many commercial radio stations there are, I know the BBC is a different thing because they pay a blanket fee to PRS.
We do, we pay, and it's a huge amount of money, but when you consider the number of outlets we got, it distributes quite reasonably, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're a musician, you've written a song, a commercial radio station is listened to by God knows how many millions of people. They don't listen to the adverts, and that is obviously how they make their money. The more listeners they get, the higher their revenue gets. So why should a musician make a song where the company makes lots and lots of money out of their work? Basically, that's that one. My other one is, for example, like the Jilted John thing, like I said, we're now on the case looking for it. I put it into the HMV website, sorry, I mentioned the company, but a record shop's website. Yeah. And that single is on 12 different albums.
Yes, on all the different compilations, isn't it? Yeah.
Someone's making money, but we're not.
Absolutely.
So that's basically all I want to say is that they're not greedy people. Other people are making money out of their work. Why shouldn't they?
Well, that's the thing about businesses. That's why the PRS is talking about businesses. It's not talking about personal use, as you know, Bernard. It's talking about businesses, and the implication. And it looks a bit iffy when you start applying it to Margaret the baker from Bolton.
I do agree with that to a degree. It is a bit silly, but basically, if they stop one lot, then I mean that might be overzealous. You never know. I mean well, it's just a stop.
What has happened is the PRS about a decade ago suddenly realised that people like you, who were one of a number on a record, when they actually pay the money out from PRS, it's buttons. I made a record some years ago with some pals of mine, messing about. It's called, what was it called now? Nasty Allan Beswick is his name. Well, you know, hey, come on, you're Gordon the Moran, don't you be bloody laughing at me. It had a chorus which my mate wrote, Dave, and he wrote, it went, he's as rude as they come, he's got a big fat bum, don't call him or he'll surely blow your brain. If you want to laugh, send for his photograph, 'cause Nasty Allan Beswick is his name. That was the chorus, so you can see the standard that was set by it, you know. And we made that, and we sold a few hundred copies, you know. Yeah. And I believe Dave Dutton gets about a farthing a decade. For the oh God, yes, he's knocking you into a cock-tap, pal. He gets about a farthing a decade for writing that, and I think he's overpaid, frankly, but there you are. But yeah, I mean, people forget that this is a living, it's not a hobby.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mean me, this is a hobby that's paid, but making music and selling records, it's a bloody living.
Yeah.
They don't expect anything else for free. When the boss of a factory says, "Oh, you're all doing an extra 10 minutes tonight," they don't all go, "Well, you know, that's nice of him, isn't it?" They go, "No, we're not, unless you get your wallet out, you tight old wad."
Yeah,
and they forget that the entertainment industry is an industry. People are working in it.
Yeah.
And some of them shouldn't be, but that's another story.
Thanks, Alan.
Have a good day, Bernard.
And you.
Or Gordon, as you'll always be known, obviously.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Take care, mate.
Ta-ra now. 0161228 2255. And before you start, that record's no longer available. It was only available for about 3 months. And we didn't even... I promise you, we didn't even have any left. I know. I find it hard to believe as well. But it was called Nasty Allan Beswick is his name. And it was terrible. And as a downside, it was written by Dave Dutton, which dragged it a long way down. But then it was dragged even further down by having me singing in the chorus. So you can see, it was never going to set the world alight, was it? All right. 0161228 2255. I promised you some words on notice of intention to prosecute. And it's here. Should the police or others have notified a likely prosecution with certain offences, motorists must be warned that they might be prosecuted, so they can take steps to contact witnesses and collect evidence before too much time elapses. The warning can either be a verbal warning from the police at the time of the offence, typically the facts will be reported with a view to consideration of the question of proceedings being taken against you, blah blah blah, or a written notice of intended prosecution, or even a summons served within 14 days of the offence. So the notice of intention to prosecute must arrive within 14 days of the offence. Now, that's the first thing. There are a list of offences: dangerous, careless or inconsiderate driving, or cycling for that matter, failure to comply with traffic directions or signs. Now, looking like a bloke going past on the Lee bus and just taking a glance at it as we pass, it looks like the offence that Brian was talking about, using a bus lane. Now, that could be regarded as disobeying a traffic sign. Yeah? So, a bus lane is a traffic sign. His son, it is alleged, and he concedes, actually, that he disobeyed it. So it could fall into that category, and therefore a notice of intent to prosecute would be required. The only thing that makes me wonder in this case is that because it's a fixed penalty offence, the notice of intent to prosecute may be covered in the legislation that created fixed penalty offences, and I'm not aware of that legislation. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I just read books, you know. So there you are. But that's what the Oracle says, or one such oracle. Everybody and her husband knows from whence came the lyrics of that song, which fortunately I've forgotten. But if I spool down my screen, they are on display again. The words were, "May you always be a dreamer, and may all your dreams come true." I'll have a look at that in a minute, but first of all, I must speak with Malcolm in Wigan.
Hello.
Hiya, Malcolm.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Fine.
What have you got?
I'm just moving on the energy debate a little bit.
All right.
Okay. Well, we've done the peak oil, and we're aware that there's a solar panel that has a fitted cost of about £3,000, £2,000 if you fit it yourself. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, let's just do a little number. Times that by 1 million, and you get 3 billion. Okay? So if the government was to sign a contract with B&Q today, which, of course, the B&Q would be making a significant profit on, because that's what they're in business to do, it would cost them £3 billion to fit 1 million solar panels in this country.
Yeah? Go on.
Well, I mean, that is the annual cost of the Iraq War. It is about the annual cost of the running of Trident and possible development of Strident, or as I call it, the successor to Trident.
Or alternatively, half a week's NHS.
Yes.
We can play that game for a long time. So now we've got the parallel the parallel cost. What point are you making?
Well, the point I'm making is that it is a viable alternative to start to fit green energy in this country, and and it will save a huge amount of fuel, gas in this case, because in my case I use gas to heat my...
Well, not everybody does, but yes, it will save fuel.
It will save fuel. Oil, if they're in the...
Well, it will save fossil fuels. We don't need to know how you run your home.
Yeah, or electricity.
Which is made from fossil fuels in the main.
Most of it is, yeah.
So we'll save fossil fuels. We've got that. Well, what next?
And it's and for the annual price of running the Iraq War, you can fit $1 million.
Well, all of those things are true. And if we were successful in that endeavour...
Yeah.
And let us pretend we were, and the government were that way inclined and spent the money to that effect. If we were successful in that endeavour, what effect do you think it would have on the overall fossil fuel originating pollution on Earth?
Well, it would reduce it, clearly.
It would reduce it. I don't know how clear it would be, but it would reduce it.
But also...
And my question, given that you were quoting statistics and parallels and sliding a bit of lefty pacifistic policies in as well, my question is, what effect would it have on world pollution from fossil-related fuels? There's the question. Do you know?
The exact figures, clearly... All I can say
Have you got what the Americans call a ballpark figure?
What I've got is I've got a figure on nuclear, a new figure that I'm going to pluck out.
Okay,
right?
pluck it out.
Because I don't see that. The point is I don't see that as the key issue, the pollution, right?
What do you see as the issue?
The key issue is the fact that oil and gas are running out.
Well, that's true as well, but...
And that you need to have an alternative in place. And you need to get on with doing it as the Germans are doing it.
Well, I don't know that you do. Somebody needs to, but once it is done, it will be copied, purchased by everybody else. So patent lasts for, 100 years? We've got enough oil for the next couple of 100 years.
We have not.
Oil,
that's the mistake you're failing to
oil,
grasp.
Coal and other...
Even coal. There isn't that vast amount.
Malcolm, we live on an island made of coal. If you fall over and break the surface in this country, the chances are you'll get coal.
That may well be so, but
It's
the
not
cost
may
of
well,
getting it out...
Well, there's always a cost, but you're talking about spending $1 billion anyway.
Which is nothing in comparison. Anyway, look, let's get back to the nuclear power.
You've been won over by the doomsayers. Global warming is caused by a variety of things.
I'm not arguing on a global warming basis, mate. I don't particularly...
And we will run out of oil one day, but it's a long way off, and governments work on a 5-year cycle.
Right, well, I'm coming to the nuclear power. Right.
All right. Well, go on.
Right,
I'll tolerate a little more, yes.
What I'm now going to do now is read you from the Cooperative Bank, Cooperative Insurance Society newsletter. Okay, it's not difficult. Short. Nuclear power is a controversial issue because it can be beneficial for power generation in that it is carbon neutral, unlike coal and oil. I don't accept that, I might add. However, we are all too aware of the environmental and other negative consequences of nuclear power. Regular readers will be aware that we've been reviewing our stance, that's that of the Cooperative Bank and CIS, on nuclear power over the last year. Currently, we exclude generators of nuclear power, a stance that has been warranted being reviewed as important.
Right, it's getting too many words for copyright rules, so just tell me what your problem is.
So, to get to the point, about 3/4 of investors voted in favour of continuing our exclusion of nuclear power generation companies from investment. That's it. They carried out a survey of the members of the sustainable leaders and I think of the Cooperative Bank customers generally on nuclear power, and lo and behold 3/4 of them voted against nuclear power. So I don't know where this talk of the government getting large amounts of financial support for nuclear power, because they can't get it from my bank, the Co-op Bank. I don't know where it's coming from. When you're talking 20 billion per station, I don't see that money. I think they're all the kind of figures I'm talking about of 3 billion a year funded out of the cost of Trident, and the Iraq War. That's doable. But
Malcolm, I've got a problem here.
Yeah, go on.
And I think everybody's asleep now.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just explaining to you that.
Well, I don't want you to anymore.
My figures are that the country doesn't want nuclear power.
Malcolm.
Right.
Malcolm,
I'm finished.
I don't care.
Right. I'm off.
Right.
Bye.
Ta-ra, mate. I actually don't bloody care. 0161 228 2255. Maybe I should care, but I don't. Simon in Wilmslow. Hiya.
Oh, sorry, you just woke me up then.
I am not alone. What have you got for us, Simon?
I was drifting away then.
All right, what have you got, mate? Now you're awake.
Quick question. Do you know the PRS?
Yeah.
And if you're in a retailer and you have the radio on, you pay an amount.
Yes.
What happens to those companies who allow their employees to bring a radio in and they're broadcasting to an open workplace?
Exactly the same. They are required, the company is required, because they're in charge of what goes on in their premises, are required to have a licence. If they don't have a licence for the events that are taking place on their premises, they risk a fine, and it can be a considerable one. And it's...
Even if it's a pox little transistor radio?
It's the noise that comes out of it, not the machine that you're licensing. It's the music.
It's the music. So if somebody had one of these, well, like your show, phone-ins, and if it's talked about sport or politics.
Well, yes,
is it like that?
except there is no such programme on the radio because there is music on all of them.
Even if I might be naming a name, a radio station like Talk Sport.
Talk Sport has music. They have jingles.
Does it? I don't know. Obviously, I just walk in.
They do. I don't either, but they have jingles. All radio stations do. Jingles are music.
Right.
I think the technical term is you're screwed, mate.
Right, okay. Well, all right, well, that was all. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you, Alan. Bye.
Ta-da now. Gordon says, oi, leave the moron bit out, Beswick. That git made my life hell in the early 80s. He's referring to Bernard, who said he was Gordon the moron, and Gordon emails and says, he made my life hell. That I understand. Good on you, mate. 0161 228 2255. The lady with the faulty dining chairs. Kevin says, the lady with the faulty dining chairs wanted to know where she stands. He said she can stand wherever she wants. It's the chairs she's having trouble with.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Headline News.
Mounted police are patrolling a neighbourhood in Wythenshawe where a man was shot 3 times in front of his girlfriend and her child by an armed gang. If you're over 40, the North West Ambulance Service is telling you to eat better food, take more exercise and stop smoking. And after more than 6 months in Iraq, 550 soldiers from the Duke of Lancaster's regiment have arrived home. Manchester's weather, it's dull, but it should brighten up this afternoon. Highs of 19 degrees Celsius. I'm Catherine Murray.
BBC Radio Manchester. 2020 traffic.
If you're heading towards the East Lancs Road on the westbound on the A580, then you'll notice that one lane is closed now because of that earlier accident westbound at the A58 Liverpool Road. The road was completely shut off from around about 10 to 1 until around about 1:30. As I say, the inside lane of the 2 remains shut off. The accident involved 4 vehicles. Now, traffic's just queuing on the approach now, thanks to Dom, who called in and updated us with that information. And if you're bound for the motorways, the M6 is still creeping along on the cameras southbound between 21 Woolston and 17 Sandbach, and the M67 also looking very busy at the moment on the eastbound stretch heading away from Manchester between 3 Hyde and Stockport Road. Now, don't forget, if you can update me at all today, do get in touch hands free. 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Will Perry.
Well, Sven-Göran Eriksson's time as Manchester City manager is expected to come to an end next week. Speculation surrounding the Swede's future has been rife even before the season finished. Juliet Farrington reports.
The former England manager is effectively waiting to be sacked by Thaksin Shinawatra following his end-of-season review. The billionaire businessman has avoided questions on the future of Eriksson, but it's unlikely the situation will be allowed to drag on until the middle of next month, as suggested by his people in Bangkok just 2 days ago. Eriksson is still contracted to the club, and until his departure is confirmed, is not allowed to take on any new challenge, which also includes the job waiting for him in Mexico.
Meanwhile, City could be set to play their UEFA Cup first qualifying round at Preston North End's ground, Deepdale. The Blues were unable to stage the game at Eastlands due to pop concerts taking place. It was thought Huddersfield's Gal Farm Stadium was the first choice for the tie on either July the 17th or the 31st, but City are thought to want to keep it this side of the Pennines. Well, the Chief Executive of the Football Association, Brian Barwick, has expressed concern about a proposal to limit the number of foreign players allowed in club sides. Football's world governing body has backed proposals which would only allow sides to play 5 foreigners at any one time. Well, the plans are likely to run into opposition because they're against European labour laws. Barwick says it's a difficult situation.
Unless those type of hurdles can be overcome, there are still issues to take forward. So further exploration, yes, but where it'll end up, who knows? We're still great believers in a meritocracy, that players should be in the team on performance and on ability first and foremost.
Also, Bobby Charlton has described Alex Ferguson as a sensational Manchester United manager. 9 days after Ferguson completed a European and domestic double in Moscow, Charlton, one of the United's all-time greats, paid this tribute.
He's just a sensational manager. Hurdles, he doesn't bother about hurdles, you know, straight to the problem, solves the problem and gets our team to play to their absolute maximum. And you can't ask any more than that. We've all seen what he's been doing here for 22 years. 22 years as a football manager and all that success. I think you'll enjoy his holiday this summer.
Well, if you're a Stockport fan, you won't want to forget this in a hurry.
And Dickinson may well have just fired Stockport County into League One for next season. Gareth Owen holds aloft the trophy that proclaims Stockport County as winners of the League Two playoff final, and more precious than that silver.
Well, you can reminisce about that Wembley win with Stockport manager Jim Gannon. He's the live studio guest in Manchester Sports this evening. He'll be taking your calls and emails on 0161 228 225 and manchestersports@bbc.co.uk. Plus, you can hear more from Sir Bobby Charlton and Dennis Law. Well, Nottingham Forest have signed Wales international striker Rob Earnshaw from Derby for £2.65 million. That's his 4th club in as many years. Watford's record signing striker Nathan Ellington has joined Derby on a season-long loan with a view to a permanent deal. The move, of course, reunites him with his former Wigan manager Paul Jewell. Well, Lancashire are battling away in the War of the Roses County Championship match with Yorkshire. They've just come out of after lunch. Good news, Chris Malaban's at Headingley.
Indeed so, a 3rd wicket for Lancashire. Sarge Mahmood has picked up his 3rd and the 3rd of the innings, dismissing Anthony McGrath in the 1st over after lunch, caught behind by Luke Sutton on the drive for 45. McGrath had earlier in that over smashed Mahmood through the covers for 4, but Mahmood getting his revenge, and Lancashire now starting to edge ahead on points in this match. So Yorkshire 94 for 3 at the moment. Jacques Rudolph on 26. Andrew Gale yet to score.
Cheers, Chris. Meanwhile, Lancashire's James Anderson has been named in the England squad to face New Zealand in the 2020 match at Old Trafford and the one-day series next month. Warwickshire's Tim Ambrose has been named as the wicket-keeper. And finally, there will be a first-time winner of the women's singles title at the French Open tennis this year. The only remaining former champion, Serena Williams, has been beaten in straight sets at Roland Garros. British number 1 Andy Murray is due on court in his 3rd round match this afternoon.
She conquered a consumer jungle. She sought bargains from all corners of the world. She fought her way through armies of shoppers. Tomorrow, the adventure continues. Becky wants, and the Credit Crunch Crusade.
Your challenge today is to go out, round the shops, come back and report back and tell us the prices as well. There's no way to avoid the sales. No way at all, so we might as well embrace them.
Becky wants retail therapy.
This morning from 9
at BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. Yes. Should I? Okay, I will. I'm going to talk to Ivy in Bolton. Hiya, Ivy.
Hello.
What can we do for you, Ivy?
Well, I bought a cleaner from a reputable place in Bolton, and this was last year. The guarantee hasn't run out, and about February or March it broke. So I went back to the shop, and he said, you'll have to ring up and tell them about it, where you made it, where they make them. So I rang Droitwich, And I waited until the courier came. They sent me a plastic bag to put the machine in.
Yeah.
And all the paraphernalia, all taping it up and all this. So the courier came after waiting in all day. And they had it a week. And then it came back. They put a new, I can't read,
Alternator.
Alternator, is it in a belt?
Might be, yeah.
So it was okay for a week or two. And then it broke again. And I rang Dropwich again. And they've sent me a plastic bag and all the paraphernalia. And it's waiting here for the courier to come.
Okay. Well, when you spoke to them, they said, OK, we'll pick it up and mend it again for you, I suspect.
Well, they didn't say they'll mend it again. I said, you see, it's not out of guarantee,
Yeah, that's OK. I'm just trying to find out what happened first.
Yeah.
So when you spoke to them this second time, and they said, OK, what did they... Well, you tell me what they said. Clearly, they said...
the lady said that she didn't think that they'd done the job that it went back for.
OK.
You see,
so they said, we'll pick it up and do it.
That's right,
All right. Now, when they said that, and you said, well, OK then, you weren't happy with it, but you said, well, OK then.
I'm not happy with it
No,
at all.
but you said, well, OK then, didn't you?
Yeah.
You kind of agreed to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, against your better judgment.
Yeah.
What I suggest you do now is you have agreed to it, allow them to collect it and repair it, and when it comes back to you, if it breaks down again, tell them you don't want another repair, you want your money back.
I went back to the shop and he said, it's not my, you'll have to phone.
Well, he's wrong.
Yeah, I
he's
thought
wrong.
he was.
However, we are where we are. I could, if you like, advise you to go back to the shop and sue him, but we are where we are.
Yeah.
And where we are is that you have agreed to let the manufacturer have another go at repairing it. Well, don't worry. They're probably going to get it right this time, so don't worry.
Yeah.
So when they come and collect it, let them mend it, and if it's still faulty, get back onto them and say, it's still faulty, I want my money back.
Yeah.
Or if it breaks down again quite soon, get onto them and say, I want my money back. And if they say you're not having your money back, say, well, that's fine, I'll sue the retailer.
Yeah.
OK?
But it's going on and on. You see.
Well, it does. You see, the trouble is, and I'm not blaming you, Ivy, at all. But the trouble is, these companies know how to.
Oh, I know that.
They know how to discuss things with you.
That's right.
And they present options to you as if you have no choice, and so you say, "Oh, well, all right then." And once you say, "Well, all right then," you've agreed something.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, we have to let that take its course now. So allow them to mend it again, as I say. And I know you're not happy with that, but that's where we are. Allow them to mend it again. And if after that it breaks down again, phone them up and say it's broken down again. You've had 2 attempts at mending it. I want my money back.
Yeah.
OK?
Yeah.
But
so when they asked me to look for the number of the machine, I saw it was made in China.
Well, that doesn't matter. You're dealing with the British manufacturer, although the actual product was made in another country. That doesn't matter. So don't worry about that. What you need to do is allow them to collect it again, allow them to have another go at repairing it, because that's what you've agreed.
Yeah.
And if it comes back and it's still not working properly, then get back onto them and say, you've had 2 goes at mending this, and you've not been successful. I want my money back. Okay?
Was there a man in the house?
Well, it don't matter whether there's a man in the house. You can do it. You can do it. I promise you can do it. So let them take it. When it comes back, if it's still faulty or if it breaks down again, phone them up and say, look, you've had 2 goes, you're getting no more goes, I want my money back.
Yeah. Alan,
and stick to that.
Would the trading standards be any use?
Not at the moment, no, but by all means contact them.
Yeah. Okay.
Because at the moment, you've made an agreement with them.
Yeah.
You've said, I'll let you have another go at mending it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, love.
Yeah, thanks very much.
All right. They'll probably get it right this time.
Yeah.
They probably will. And if they don't, then's the time to rattle your jewellery at them.
Yeah, I have no.
All right, love.
Okay, thank you very much.
Have a good day. Good on you. We're going to be with Mary in Farnworth in a minute, but I better do this because I did promise I would. Reg thinks the song, remember we asked her, well, let's go to the lyrics. and then we get it sorted out. Alan in Bolton wants to know who wrote or who performed the lines, "May you always be a dreamer and may all your dreams come true." We've got a whole raft of answers. "May you always," Joan Regan, says Kathleen in Warrington. "Happy birthday, Tony Orlando," Lynn in Blakely. I bet that was a birthday greeting. "Have yourself a Merry Christmas," not a chance. Gordon in Timperley. "May each day," Andy Williams. Galway Bay, "May I go across the sea to Ireland." That's Rita from Openshaw, thank you for that. "May you always be," the Maguire sisters, according to Evelyn in Stockport, and loads of others. Reg, rather unfortunately, thinks it was "When You Wish Upon a Star" by Pinocchio. "When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. When you wish upon a star, your wish comes true." And now you know why they won't let me sing. "I think the song is Forever Young. It's been recorded by several artists," says Hazel in Bury. We're beginning to get round to thinking that it was... Oh, here we go. Yeah, "May You Always," recorded by the Maguire sisters in 1959. And, yeah, "I used to live in Hadfield, but now I live in Luxor, Egypt, and listen to you on the internet. May you rot in hell, Stan." Thank you for that. and where we go. Keith said... Oh, I've even got the lyric here. Keith says it was... the Maguire sisters. So I think we're getting round to it being the Maguire sisters, and somebody else who really ought to find something to do with their time in the days sent me not only the lyric but the chord structure of the song. Or at least I think it's a chord structure. It's got a lot of stuff above it that I don't understand. "May You Always," recorded by the Maguire sisters in the 50s. "May all your wildest dreams come true." That's Ray from Wigan. So thank you to everybody who informed us of that. And we'll talk now with Mary in Farnworth. Hiya, Mary.
Hello, Alan.
What can we do for you?
Nice to talk to you, love.
And you, dear.
Yeah. What it is, you had a gentleman on this morning, a Joseph. I don't know where he lived. He was on about his wheelie bin not being able... He was disabled. He's not able
He had some... correct, yeah. He wanted a four-wheeler.
Yes. Well, Bolton have a system for disabled people with the bins.
Mm-hmm.
It's a yellow sticker.
Aye.
And it's about 4 inches across, if you measured it. It's circular. And you stick it in front of the bin, and you leave it where they can see it from the road, and they take it out for you and bring it back in.
Oh, well, that's good, isn't it? That's a belting
Now,
system.
I don't know where this Joseph lives.
No, I've forgotten.
Yeah.
I think it's Middleton.
Oh, I don't know.
Might...
But that's a nice system that Bolton has,
Yeah.
you see, for disabled people.
I suspect... I wouldn't be at all surprised to learn that all the local authorities do it, so that's really useful. Thank you very much.
It is, yeah. I feel sorry for him if it's like that, because it's very difficult, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It is. Good on you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Good on you, thank you. That's belting, isn't it? So there you are. I hope you made a note of that, Joseph. Get in touch with your local authority, and they have a process by which you can be helped, isn't it? Yeah, that's fantastic. 0161 228 2255. If you've something to say, that's excellent. You can do precisely that. And that was Mary in Farnsworth. When you wish upon a star, it was never that. Come on. You're just having a go. Keith in Blackpool saying, we were talking about Veterans Day, and I've forgotten who it was. It might well have been Joseph who we were talking to, so they've got a big Veterans Day sorted out in Blackpool, or maybe it was Tony. Anyway, whoever it was, Keith, who lives in Blackpool and works in Blackpool, tells us that there's all sorts of mither going on. He suggests, does Keith, the Blackpool councillor sort of backpedalling. This meeting in Blackpool has had a lot of controversy and subsequent backpedalling by the organisers. It was obvious that many veterans have mobility problems. There was no provision initially for them to get to and from the venues. Car parks were some way from the cenotaph. Veteran vehicles would be getting in the way of the dignitaries' vehicles, and we can't have that, he says. Some of these dignitaries are veterans in their own right, of course. And then he says some veterans' units threatened to boycott. The organisers came up with the idea that it had been sorted out beforehand, but they hadn't divulged the details yet. Yeah, right, says Keith. in Blackpool. All right, well, we will go in that. Jean in Cheshire thinks Ken Dodd also recorded May You Always. Well, I've no idea. That may or may not be true. How can I know? And Shirley says, can you please play that record, Nasty Allan Beswick, and give us all a treat? Well, two things, Shirley. First of all, I promise you it would not be a treat. It would be utterly horrible. It would also mean that my mate Dave Dutton gets another farthing, and I don't see why I should feather that bugger's nest. And, more importantly, I haven't got a copy of it, so I can't. I say I haven't with such firmness that I may start to believe it, but I don't think I've got a copy of it, to be honest. I don't. I've not looked, but I can't imagine where it is. If I have, and if I can't, I'm frankly, I can't be bothered looking. So there. Oh, here we go. David says, may you always walk in the sunshine, slumber one, when night wind blows. May you always live with laughter, for a smile becomes you so. Yeah. Is that line in there somewhere? May you bluebirds, forgotten acquaintance. May you always be a dreamer. May your wildest dreams come true. So there you are. That's a bit like that. May all your pleasures be little ones. I think our boss sticks with that, because the only pleasure in my life is getting me wages. Yeah, and that's certainly a little one. Boom! That was on the edge of funny, wasn't it? Okay. What about hearses, says Ted in Moston. Do they have to have a PRS licence? Oh, I don't know, unless they play a dirge. I'll see you tomorrow. Ta-da now!
Before you set out on tomorrow's shop, listen to me.